Hi, I'm Trish, the designer behind TrishNewbery.com. Today we're going to be sewing a really simple sew, a twisted beanie. And here's what you're going to need. So here is your rectangle of fabric, and make sure the circumference of the head measurement runs with the stretch like this. So when you're ready, place this right sides together. And I'm going to use an overlocker with 4 threads in it, but you can just use a home sewing machine with a lightning stitch or a zigzag. And I'm going to sew down here. So the seam allowance is not important. You could sew this at 1 centimetre, 3/8 of an inch, 1.5 centimetres, or 6 mil. Essentially whatever seam allowance you will do will allow for this to sit snugly against the head. So the seam allowance really doesn't matter. What does matter though is that we leave a gap for turning. So around about 5 inches up, which is 12.5 centimetres, I want you to just stop stitching and sew off. Now the reason we need to make it that high is because there is around about a 5 centimetre, a 2-inch turn up for this beanie, or if you wanted it to be a slouchy beanie you could just leave that 2-inch turn up down and just push it off the back of your head. That looks really good too. So leave a gap for turning of about 2 to 3 inches, so 5 to 7 centimetres, and then just start stitching again. Okay, so come to the fold and mark a very small notch with either some shears or your thread snips. It only needs to be 3 mil, 1/8 of an inch, and do the same thing at the fold position at the other side. So what's going to happen is these are going to be our match points for our fabric. So now you just need to find some space and lay this out. Okay, so now we need to create the twist. Take the top right and bring it to the bottom left, and the remaining corner just passes over like that. So all we're doing is here to here and then here to here. Now when we sew it, we need to make sure we're sewing the correct layers together. So if we say we have layers 1, 2, 3 and 4, we want to sew layers 1 and 4 together. So what this means is just tuck those 2 middle layers out of the way and bring down layer 1 to layer 4, and you'll know you've got the right ones when you're sewing right sides together. So when you're ready, pick that up, come to your machine and start sewing. And now what you'll need to do is find that little notch you created on the fold and match it to the seam there, and that'll just make sure that when you're sewing your fabric doesn't twist. And just continue sewing all the way around until you start stitching on top of your previous stitching. Right, so now we need to find the seam that has the gap in it, and we're going to turn this through on itself. And we need to close our gap, so you can either hand stitch this or sew it with your machine. So all I'm going to do is tuck the edges in on themselves, and I'm going to sew an edge stitch to close that gap. you need to rearrange your hat so that the seam is on the inside. And here is our beanie twist. So thanks for joining me. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel or join my Facebook group, and I'll see you again soon.